Welcome to CityCast Denver. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. So today we're talking about the many issues coming out of the ICE detention facility in Aurora, Governor Polis's views on socialism, and more. Joining me today is Green Chili correspondent Justine Sandoval. Hi, Justine.
Hey, what's up?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, before we get started, really quickly, hi, listeners. I promise I won't bug you about this after this week, but we're doing an annual listener survey, and it would help us so much if you took it. We want to learn more about you, our audience, so we can serve you and this city better. It just takes 7 minutes, I promise. We timed it. You can go to citycast.fm/survey, take that survey, fill it out, and when you fill it out, you get entered to win a $250 Visa gift card and CityCast Denver swag. Again, citycast.fm/survey. Please take it. So many of you have already taken it, by the way, and I want to tell you thank you. It makes such a difference to us. But the more data we have, the better. So please go do that. Okay, and one more thing. We have a super cool event happening on Wednesday from 6 to 9 p.m. at Pete's Satire Lounge. We are hosting a live podcast at the Colfax Indie Bash, and we're going head-to-head with our frenemies at Denverite to see who has the most elite Colfax knowledge. Our favorite editor emeritus, Westward editor Patty Calhoun, is going to be there. She whipped up the questions. We don't know what she's bringing to us. So this is going to be the media crossover event of the year. You don't want to miss it. It is totally free, but you've got to RSVP. I'll put a link in the show notes, and I would love to see you Wednesday, so join us. Okay, let's jump into the news today. Oh, man. Justine, I think the ICE facility in Aurora has been making headlines, as often the case, for all the wrong reasons. And the most recent headline we've seen is from Elizabeth Hernandez at the Denver Post, who reported that folks being held there are not receiving mail sent to them. So the Aurora detention facility is no longer giving folks detained their original copies of the mail sent to them. There have been months-long delays in the letters even getting to them. Birthday cards, drawings, all sorts of things are being turned into black and white copies and given to them. Return to sender situations without explanation. And advocacy groups have been saying that they've started to see these changes back in April. Did you see this story, Justine?
Yeah. I'm not surprised because GEO has constantly been in human rights violations. There's been stories long even before Trump and all of this extra cruelty on top of it. GEO has been a for-profit facility that treats people without any humanity. I don't think that they have any regard for them. They treat them like a dollar sign that they're just trying to get profit for. So it's another sick story out of GEO, and it makes me really disgusted that we can't be surprised by any of this.
And as you mentioned, this is a for-profit facility. This is also the organization or the company that is set to build or at least open another facility in an existing older facility in Hudson. And I think that was an over $500 million contract with the government to open that facility. For their part, ICE says their mail policies say the amount of mail detainees send at their own expense shall not be limited except to protect public safety and, quote, shall be read or rejected only to protect the safe, secure, and orderly operation of the facility. And detainees shall be notified in writing when correspondence is withheld in part or in full. And they say the rules also say that it will only be opened in the presence of detainees, and incoming and outgoing mail will be held no longer than 24 to 48 hours before distribution, excluding weekends, holidays, and exceptional circumstances. But it sounds like advocacy groups are saying this isn't even the case. I mean, folks are not getting this mail in a timely manner, let alone, I mean, I just can't imagine getting a photocopied version of a letter or a birthday card when you've been detained, often without information of what's going on or why you're there. I don't know. I just think about the human toll, you know?
No, absolutely. It's it's psychologically damaging to people. And then we have the other problem with them not letting any oversight from our officials coming into these facilities. And this is not just a Colorado issue. We've seen other cases, I know in Texas, where people aren't allowed to get phone calls, reach out. People can't even find their family members. So if your argument here is, oh, we're holding you through this process, well, you're not giving anybody their due process by stopping the people from even knowing where they are. And I think it's this idea is the less communication they have with the outside world, with their family or any resources, the more likely they can just squeeze them through and drop them off, or convince them to self-deport. And it's just sick.
And say you self-deport, just thinking about what people are going through, like I can't get a hold of I can't even tell my family where I am or what's going on. I saw one of the nonprofit orgs that works in this space say, if your family member has suddenly dropped off the registry, if you had sort of a tracking number to look for them, that may mean they are in flight to somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, folks are just literally disappearing off of these, the little tracking that these organizations have to try to keep track of where folks are.
Yeah, I think that's a part of their game. They're trying to lose people in the system. And we saw when they did this with children who were separated from their parents, back in, it feels like we've been doing this now for decades and decades, but since, all of this has started. And that's the point of the game. I get like anger goosebumps. My hair's standing up on end because I get so pissed off about this because it's just wrong. It's just like it's wrong on so many levels. It's inhumane to do this to people, and no human is illegal. So I don't know. To me, treating human beings like this, that's the true crime here, not your immigration status.
Well, and you brought up something too that that our elected representatives are having trouble even getting in or getting access. Aurora Representative Jason Crow said ICE was refusing to allow health authorities in to access the facility, and this is in relationship to another story that we're following, which is earlier this month, the Adams County Health Department said it had confirmed a case of tuberculosis at the GEO Aurora facility, which is terrifying. And they are aware of more cases. Casa de Paz, the nonprofit that works with folks as they come out of detention, said that they have seen reported up to 12 cases inside the facility. And I'll share a link in the show notes. Casa de Paz has a very detailed timeline of when they started receiving this information back in June and how they've been just trying to keep track of it as best they can without, again, elected representatives not even being able to get into these facilities. I mean, Justine, you've worked in this space for a long time. You've run for office and you've worked for folks in office. Is this just what do you take from that? The fact that the folks that represent people can't even get into these facilities that are part of our government?
That's a big effing deal. For a facility to say no to sitting members of Congress to go in and see the facility and just have a check. I mean, that to me says you are hiding something, A. And B, it's just very irregular to do that. I mean, members of Congress aren't all powerful beings that can do whatever they want, but they do have a lot of privilege in this country. And being able to investigate a facility that may be privately owned but does get federal funding, they should have access to that building.
And last Friday, Attorney General Phil Weiser said that he's ready to work with government state officials to force the center to allow an investigation to occur. And the state had sent a letter to the GEO group asking for immediate cooperation with public health no later than last Friday, July 17th, and that deadline seems to have been missed. So it's not only a lack of it's not only withholding information, it's just not responding at all.
Yeah.
Which
and I don't feel like
scary.
Feel like they need to, because they're really emboldened by the current administration who is spearheading this entire situation. So yeah, they're whatever, they're going to be backed up and they don't have to. And I know that there's a fear because we know just from reports inside that an investigation will uncover a lot. It's by the time, in my opinion, this facility just needs to be closed and not even open a second one. And there have been people calling for this for a long time, for the GEO facility to be closed. And, there's just constant horror stories come out of this place.
And if we have something like tuberculosis,
Yeah.
going through there. I mean, not only is it harming folks inside there, it eventually can get out. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, this is not something to be taken lightly. And I think that's what,
Yeah.
our local officials are trying to get to the bottom of. I do just want to say one more thing is Casa de Paz has raised concerns about these conditions for a long time, but also this is a concern for them for this potential Hudson facility as well, which they have been protesting for long before the government acknowledged that this was going to be another potential space. And they said one of their concerns is emergency personnel are at the GEO facility in Aurora all the time. Hudson is a little bit more isolated, and they're concerned that even emergency services won't be able to access it or get to it in a more timely manner as stuff like this occurs.
Absolutely. My parents go to UC Health across the street, which is right by the GEO facility off of Peoria. And so we're there a lot for their varying health issues. But I see often the detainees from the GEO facility at the hospital receiving care with a guard. So I wonder, they have that close hospital. We're literally across the street. But what does it take? How sick do you need to be before they even take you over to those services, A? And then B, so if you have a more isolated area and they're waiting till people are at the point of like death, and then they have a longer facility, you're going to see like a lot more tragedy. And I mean, we don't even know. We can't have a accurate count of how many people have actually even died in these facilities because we're losing track of people. So we don't even know how, dire the situation is.
And this is not to mention, these are health concerns, but also folks who have diabetes have had trouble getting access to medications. Folks who have actual like dietary issues that impact their lives, like celiac, have not been able to get proper food. And it goes on and on. Really quick before we move on, we do need to talk about the shooting that happened outside of this facility. Last week, Brandon Booth, an employee at the Aurora Detainment Center, was arrested after he shot a woman Thursday night near the GEO Group's ICE processing center. He shot a protester who was in a verbal confrontation and took a picture of his vehicle. He got out his personal weapon to show her and then drove away. He shot her and then drove away. And I talked to her, actually, Emma Landis. She's 21. We happen to have a family friend in common, and that's how I got connected to her. But she said, she was on the other side of the street, and she was in a verbal confrontation with him. But she said she turned around to walk away, and that's when he shot her in the foot.
He shot her in the back, or like her back was turned. Yeah.
And I was like, was this your, she's 21. I was like, was this your first protest? She's like, absolutely not. And it won't be my last. She's like, if anything, this emboldened me to keep showing up. But
seriously,
terrifying situation. Justine, you've been to many a protest over the last 2 decades. Have you ever been concerned that something like this, like someone shooting you with an actual gun, could be something that would happen?
Well, this is America. So I always thought that like you were going to get shot even just being at the grocery store. But, I just think that it's shocking to me that this person is a security guard in this facility and their temper is that short. I can imagine how they already treat people who are being dehumanized in a facility. But to have that, little self-control to pull out your own weapon and shoot someone because a 21-year-old said something you didn't like. I mean, I've been out there lots of times talking a lot of shit. And I've been out there when people have been arrested.
But you have the right to. I mean, that's the thing. Is that's the other part of America. It's supposed to be the other part of America is you have the right to do that. And when I talked to Emma this weekend, she was like, I was basically just saying like, dude, get a new job. Like, your job sucks. Like, she wasn't like, I don't know that there. She's allowed to do that. But all I would say was it seemed to not take very much for this gentleman to shoot at her. And she said he was also laughing at her. Before he shot her. And I do want to clarify for their part, ICE has said, quote, no ICE personnel were involved in the incident. She said this gentleman was in plain clothes, but she said that there had been some employees that were complaining that the protesters were blocking their parking lot to get into work. So he is an employee at the detainment center at the GEO group, but ICE has said that this was not ICE personnel. So for what it's worth, but this was outside of an ICE facility. And I mean, this is something we're watching because we talked about this earlier. The protests have been going on outside of here for years and years pre-Trump. So I don't see them letting up anytime soon, but I do really think about folks' safety in this situation.
Yeah. Everyone watch out for each other.
Yeah.
Take precautions. And sometimes it's okay to back down and de-escalate for the sake of your life.
Of your safety.
It's not worth it. So...
Yeah, and she was like, I was trying to walk away. So
yeah, and even when you try to, that's a good lesson. Even when you try to walk away, it can end badly. So be vigilant, everybody.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are talking about Governor Polis and socialism. Okay, we're back. Last week, I was trolling Facebook, as I am wont to do, and I saw this post that struck me as kind of strange from Governor Polis. And I know he posted it to other social channels as well, but he said in part, quote, "Socialism dangerously concentrates political and economic power together. Government should be an independent check on the private sector, not the owner of it and controlled by it." And then a part that really struck me was he said, "Fascism and socialism aren't the answer," which I thought I feel like he was correlating these two in a strange way. Justine, what was your initial reaction to Polis's statement about socialism?
Well, he's made statements similar to that before, I think, about socialism and what he believes. I think the fascist part is what was inflammatory to people, because it's like the people who are like pro like democratic socialism now are anti-fascist. And so now like everyone I feel like fascist is the new like catch-all for everything people don't like. They're like, you're a fascist. So that I think made people say, okay, like, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to take a jab here? Or are you just sharing your opinions on socialism?
It kind of felt that way to me. And again, this went beyond social posting. Polis was on the cable news circuit this weekend. He told CNN anchor Lauren Coates asked, quote, "What is the danger you see in these DSA candidates that you think voters who support them might be missing?" And Polis in part said, "Socialism is a ticket to nowhere. Frankly, socialism is a lot of what Trump has been doing, quite literally," which he went on to explain a little bit more on Fox News when he said, I'm, quote, "concerned by some of the socialism I see, some of the socialism with voices in President Trump's ear where they're literally buying government shares of Intel." This struck me as, I know there's been a lot of qualms lately, especially with the commutation of Tina Peters' sentence, and even before that, questioning if Polis is a Democrat even anymore. And democratic socialism is definitely another shade of this, of side of the left. But I was still kind of surprised by his hard take on it.
He's so weird. He's very libertarian. But I think that this is actually a sign that he is planning on possibly running for president.
You think so?
Yeah, because there's a lot of talk about the democratic socialism message works in major cities or on in the democratic groups who are, usually more left in some cases and wanting to push to see these candidates. But then there's a belief that these candidates won't reach to the broader electorate. And so I think Polis is going with that and just trying to say, I was the first to say socialism was bad, or maybe. So I think he's doing this to try to create his image before he moves into that, because there's just no reason for it. Or maybe he just also likes to just tweet.
We do know this about him. I just found this particularly pointed. And in his statement that he shared on socials, he said, "And people are rightfully jaded that our country has not been able to deliver on basic things like universal health care, which every other wealthy capitalist country has." And I'm like, but it is based in a socialist approach. I'm thinking about my cousins live in Copenhagen, and part of the reason they're both engineers, and part of the reason they met there when they were in school, came back to America, and then one of them got offered a job back in Copenhagen, and she was like, "We wanted to have babies," and so that was a big draw for us, because I was explaining to her the maternity leave that we have, and our company has maternity leave, and I have never worked at a company that had it at all. And she my cousin's wife kind of laughed at me like, "Oh, you don't even want to know. I kind of have unlimited time off until I'm ready to come back." And that feels like so far from where we are, but I thought it was interesting that he brought up the universal healthcare thing as if it's not directly correlated to a more socialist approach to government.
Well, Well, and I think part of the issue too here is like I was a poli-sci major. I took political ideologies class, and I am like confused all the time because I think people have so many different mixed opinions on what socialism actually is, and there are like different branches of socialism
Sure.
here. So even like Copenhagen, I think it's a mix of like a capitalist and socialism, like part.
Yeah, and I do want to say, I don't want to blanket it and say that they aren't also having troubles with far right wing influence
Yeah.
and things like that as well. It's not a perfect place by any means, but
Yeah,
it
but
was
like,
just
and even it's a
interesting.
mix. It's not like total socialism, I don't think. And so there's like, you know, there's the idea of like democratic socialism, then there's market socialism and state socialism, and then like countries that are entire socialist governments. So I think there's a lot of arguments about what it exactly means and what people are
Yeah.
trying to say it means. So I think
Well,
there's a lot of confusion there. Because then people always think like a socialist is also a communist, which is not the
which
same
is
thing.
not the same thing. And I want to dig a little bit into the realities here in Denver because I mean, I think this obviously was spurred by Melat Kiros winning 53% of the vote in the CD1 race, gaining nearly 84,000 votes compared to incumbent Diana DeGette's nearly 63,000. And Melat ran on an unabashed democratic socialist platform that clearly resonated with Denverites.
Yeah.
You know, like this is not, I don't know, it's not coming out of nowhere. And I do want to say our producer Paul Corley pulled some numbers from the Colorado Polling Institute's analysis. They asked folks about socialism. They were very clear. They didn't give a definition of it, but they asked folks how they felt about it. And in a quote, they said, socialist is not a pejorative to Denver voters. In the August 2025 survey conducted of Denver voters, a majority of voters had a favorable view of socialism more than they held a positive view. And among Denverites under 35, fully 65% held a positive view of socialism compared to just 35%.
Yeah.
And I think that flies a little in the face of the things that Polis is. I mean, Polis has his right to his opinion, but I don't know if he's necessarily speaking to his own constituency.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think that part of it too is like the term socialism, I think, has come to mean for a lot of people, especially young people, is like more services and, you know, things that more buy into public society. We want universal health care. We want, you know, free childcare. We want all these things as a nation. And I think the idea is like, well, socialism, using that word or having like the movement for democratic socialism, it's going to shake it up. I think not necessarily supporting the platform, because if you read deeper into the DSA platform, I think a lot of people wouldn't necessarily agree with all of the things in the platform, but the idea of, you know, having more social services for people, for getting more back to the country we pay into, is what people want overall. And so that's why we're like, we haven't gotten any results from years and years of this way. So,
Yeah.
you know, let's do this and let's shake it up.
I mean, the Bernie wave went to a certain extent, but I think, you know, everyone calls it the Mamdani effect, and I think he was just very effective at getting his message out there, and it clearly resonated with a lot of people, and that's in New York City. That's a
Yeah.
huge, diverse population, and I think Melat was just a big. I personally think she's a sign of things to come. And I think she was just speaking directly to people that did not feel that they were being spoken to. And it'll be interesting because Polis is on his way out.
Yeah.
Melat will be on her way in. Like you said, what are we going to see next from Polis? Maybe it's a presidential run. I would be very curious. I'm so curious in general just what his plan is after this, because he hasn't really alluded to anything. So we'll be watching it and see. But I would love to
Rich
hear from
white men
you.
are so ambitious. I'm like, but sit down, bro. Like, you're rich. What else do you need?
I mean, Justine, you could run for president pretty soon. I mean, you're old enough, you know?
I don't think I ever want to. Those are hard decisions I don't ever want to have to make.
Well, I want to hear from you all, our lovely listeners. I know you have opinions on this. How do you feel about Polis's statements on socialism? What do you think he's getting wrong or right? What do you think this says about Colorado or doesn't say about Colorado? Give us a call, 720-500-5418. Again, give us a call on the Socialism Is It hotline, 720-500-5418, and let us know what you think. Oh my, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about that meme where it's like the guy holding the butterfly and it's like, is this socialism? Well, Justine, thanks as always for joining me.
Thank you so much. We'll see you later, Bree.
And now, please enjoy a sponsored segment from Colorado Lottery. I'm speaking with Tom Seaver, the director of Colorado Lottery, about all the fun ways they're celebrating Colorado's 150th birthday. Hey, Bree here with Tom Seaver, director at the Colorado Lottery. Tom, welcome to CityCast Denver.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So Colorado is turning 150 years old this year, and the country turned 250 this year. Tom, what makes this the moment for the lottery to throw a celebration?
Well, you don't get to celebrate these big birthdays very often, and this is a very special one for both the U.S. and for Colorado. So the lottery is kind of throwing a birthday bash that'll last all summer long with 3 prize-filled scratch games, a lot of fun promotions and giveaways that are going to be here all summer.
Oh, that sounds lovely. So can you walk us through some of the summer scratch games? Like, what should Denver listeners be looking for?
Well, we have a $5 scratch game called 150th Birthday with tons of $150 prizes. Also includes a second chance drawing for cool Colorado-themed prizes. Then we have a $3 Winning Country scratch game that has prizes up to $30,000. And the Colorado Gold Rush scratch game, which is $10, features a top prize of $250,000. And each one celebrates all that makes Colorado so special for our quintessential birthday.
Oh, awesome. That sounds so great. Well, let's talk about the September game, which is Colorado Cash Crop, which celebrates Colorado agriculture specifically. Can you tell us more about this game?
Yeah, I love this game. In September, we're going to launch our own new big birthday scratch game called $2 Colorado Cash Crop, which celebrates agriculture in Colorado. The game includes Colorado's Pueblo chilies, Olathe sweet corn, San Luis Valley potatoes, and Rocky Ford melons, as well as Palisade peaches, each featured on their own ticket, and celebrates the farmers who produce those.
Okay, you hit all the right crops. That sounds like so much fun. Okay, so beyond the games themselves, where does the money actually go?
Well, even if you choose not to celebrate with a lottery game, we all get to enjoy the gift of living in the most beautiful state in the country, Colorado. Every lottery dollar spent helps fund Great Outdoors Colorado, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and the Conservation Trust Fund that support the outdoors. And we do it responsibly, promoting responsible play and taking healthy breaks from gambling.
Those are all good things to know, I think, especially because we know how much Coloradans love being outdoors. So, Tom, this has been so great. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. I love talking about the lottery, and I appreciate the opportunity.
To check out all the Colorado Lottery birthday scratch games and summer promotions, head to coloradolottery.com. Thanks for listening to CityCast Denver. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell Representative Jason Crow about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and subscribe to our morning newsletter at denver.citycast.fm. And hey, thanks to our new neighbor Travis H., who just joined our membership program. You can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Denver neighbor today at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you later.